Welcome to my channel, The Good Book Tales. I'm so glad you're here today. Take a moment to breathe, relax, and settle in. Today, we're going to step into a world from long ago, one filled with wonder, faith, and quiet miracles that changed lives in ways no one expected. This is the story of Elisha, the prophet who walked among ordinary people and brought extraordinary blessings wherever he went. A man who didn't seek fame, power, or attention, but simply listened to the voice of God and acted with compassion. Imagine dusty roads winding through small villages where the air is warm and still. Little homes made of stone, children playing by wells, and the sound of sheep bells in the distance. Life wasn't easy for the people of Israel during this time. They faced droughts, famines, and moments when hope seemed thin. Yet, in the middle of hardship, there were quiet reminders that they were not forgotten. Before Elisha became known as a prophet of great miracles, he was simply a humble man working in the fields. He wasn't born into royalty. He wasn't seeking greatness. He was plowing the land when a prophet named Elijah, a man already known for calling down fire from heaven, walked up to him and placed a cloak across his shoulders. It was more than just a cloth. It was a calling. A sign that something new was beginning. Elisha didn't argue. He didn't hesitate. He left his fields behind and followed Elijah, not knowing exactly what would come next, but trusting that there was a purpose ahead. Elijah became not just a teacher to Elisha, but a guide, a mentor, even a father figure in many ways. Elisha stayed by his side, learning, watching, growing in quiet strength. And when the moment came that Elijah was taken up into the heavens, something incredible happened. The cloak fell to the ground at Elisha's feet, the same cloak that had been laid upon him at the start. A sign passed down, a responsibility accepted. Elisha picked it up, and from that moment, a new chapter began. But Elisha was different from other prophets. His miracles didn't always come with thunder or flames. They appeared in small, gentle ways, touching everyday lives. He brought healing to the sick, comfort to the suffering, and hope to people who were almost ready to give up. Water that was bitter became clean again. A little oil in a widow's jar never ran out. A child's life, once thought lost, was restored. Each miracle was a whisper, not a shout. A reminder that kindness can be powerful, and that even in silence, God is present. But miracles don't happen without challenges. There were times when danger crept near, when powerful kings grew angry, when armies surrounded the land, and when doubt and fear tried to cast long shadows over faith. Elisha walked through all of it, not loudly, not proudly, but quietly, with a calmness that made people wonder how his heart stayed so steady. And that is where our story begins today, with a moment when hope seemed impossible, and yet a gentle miracle was waiting to unfold. A miracle that would not only change one family's life, but would show an entire nation that faith can turn the smallest spark into a lasting flame. So stay with me, because in just a moment, we are going to step deeper into this world. We will meet a woman desperate for help, a child whose future hangs in the balance, and a prophet who carries peace within every step he takes. The question is, what happens next? And how does a single act of faith open the door to a miracle that no one expected? The woman lived in a small village not far from where Elisha often traveled. She was known by her neighbors not for wealth or great influence, but for her kindness. If someone was hungry, she shared what little she had. If someone was tired, she opened her doors and offered rest. Her home was simple, but it was filled with warmth. She believed deeply that God still watched over his people, even in hard times. And when she heard that the prophet Elisha was passing through her village, something in her heart stirred. Elisha noticed her gentle spirit too. Each time he traveled that way, she welcomed him. She prepared meals, offered a quiet place to sit, and treated him with respect, not because she wanted something in return, but because she believed in honoring what was good. After some time, she and her husband built a small upper room for Elisha, a private space with just a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. It was simple, but it was thoughtful, a place of rest for a weary traveler. Elisha saw her kindness and wondered what burden she carried. because kindness like hers often comes from a heart that knows sorrow. With the help of his servant, Gehazi, Elisha learned the truth. The woman had no children, and though she had long accepted that this might never change, there was still an ache in her heart, a quiet longing she rarely spoke aloud. Her husband was growing older. Time was moving forward, and with each passing day, the hope of holding a child of her own seemed to fade. It was in that quiet truth that Elisha spoke a promise. He told her she would hold a son in her arms. At first, she could hardly believe the words. Hope can feel heavy when the heart has learned to let go of it. But the seasons changed, and just as Elisha had said, a child was born to her. Aise. Her joy was full, and her home was filled with new laughter, the sound of tiny footsteps, and a light she had almost forgotten existed. But joy does not mean the absence of trials. Sometimes, the greatest blessings come with the deepest challenges. As the boy grew, healthy and full of life, no one imagined that trouble could touch him. No one thought the quiet days they cherished could shift so suddenly. Yet one morning, as the sun rose and the fields shimmered with warm light, something happened that none of them were prepared for. And it was in that moment that the gentle peace of their home began to tremble. The mother, who had once learned to live without hope and then learned to hope again, would soon face a test unlike any she had ever known. One day, the boy went out to the field where his father and the workers were gathering the harvest. The sun was bright and high, and the air was warm. For a while, he laughed and ran between the rows, but then he slowed. His steps grew unsteady. He pressed his small hand to his head. His voice, usually so full of life, was weak as he whispered to his father that something hurt. The father, unsure of what to do and afraid in his silence, lifted the boy and hurried him back home. The mother received him in her arms, her heart tightening as she felt the weight of his body leaning too heavily against her. She held him close, rocking gently, whispering reassurances, hoping the moment would pass. But the boy's pain did not fade. His breathing became slow, his body still. The house that once echoed with laughter was now filled with a quiet that felt too heavy to bear. The mother did not cry out. She did not fall to the ground in despair. Instead, a deep, determined calm settled over her. She carried her child to the small upper room made for Elisha, the very room built from kindness and faith. She laid him on the prophet's bed and closed the door behind her. Her husband did not yet understand what she was doing as she prepared to travel. To him, it seemed sudden, even confusing, but she could think of only one path. She remembered the day Elisha had spoken life into her sadness. She remembered the way his voice held a quiet certainty, the kind that did not come from his own strength. She believed that if anyone could help now, it would be him. So she set out, holding on to hope as tightly as one might hold on a breath. The road ahead was long, uncertain, and heavy with silence. But she did not stop. And what waited for her on that road was not something she could yet see. The path to find Elisha was not an easy one. The dust rose around her feet as she walked, her steps steady but her heart racing beneath her calm surface. She did not speak to anyone she passed. Her eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead, as if every moment mattered, and truly it did. When she finally saw Elisha in the distance, standing with his servant Gehazi, she did not slow. The moment he noticed her coming, he sensed that something was wrong. This was not the quiet, gentle woman he had known, offering warm meals and soft smiles. There was a weight in her movements now, a silence that carried pain. Gehazi hurried forward to meet her, asking if all was well, if her husband was fine, if the child was fine. She answered that all was well, though her voice trembled slightly. But when she reached Elisha, she fell at his feet, holding on to him with a grief that needed no words. Elisha understood. He asked Gehazi to take his staff and go ahead quickly. Lay the staff upon the boy, he said, hoping that life might return. Gehazi left at once, running with urgency. But the mother would not leave Elisha's side. She said she would not return home unless he came with her. Her faith was not in an object or a gesture, but in the presence of the man who had spoken hope into her life once before. And so, Elisha rose and went with her, walking the same road she had walked in sorrow. Meanwhile, Gehazi reached the house, hurried up the steps, and laid the staff upon the child. But the room stayed silent. The stillness did not break. The miracle had not yet come, and Elisha was still on his way. When Elisha and the mother finally reached the house, the air felt heavier than before. The village was quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Gehazi came down the steps to meet them. His expression tense, he shook his head. There was no sound, no movement. The words hung in the air like a shadow. But the mother did not wail or fall apart. She stood silently, her hands clasped together, her heart praying in a whisper deeper than sound. Elisha walked past them without a word and climbed the stairs to the upper room. The small room was just as he remembered it, still, simple, filled with the soft light from a single window. The boy lay on the bed, exactly as he had been placed. Elisha closed the door behind him, leaving everyone else outside. He stood in the quiet of the room, his own heart heavy. This child had been a gift, a promise fulfilled. Was this the end of the promise? Or was this another moment where faith must go beyond what the eyes could see? Elisha bowed his head and prayed. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, earnest prayer from a heart that knew he could not act alone. He stretched himself over the child, hands to hands, face to face, heart to heart. Minutes passed, though they felt like a lifetime. The room remained still. Outside, the mother stood waiting, each moment passing like a slow echo. Just as Elisha was preparing to try again, a sound came from below, a faint rumble of disturbance outside the home. Villagers were gathering. Rumors had already begun to spread. Some whispered that the child had been taken by illness. Others wondered whether it was a sign, a message, something beyond their understanding. Then someone announced that a group of men from a nearby region were approaching the village. Men known for bringing trouble, searching for supplies during the famine. Their arrival now, at this exact moment, felt like another wave rising before the last had even settled. Tension thickened in the air. The mother looked toward the door, torn between two fears, one inside her home and one just beyond her doorstep. If trouble reached them now, there would be chaos, and any chance of quiet prayer could be disrupted. Elisha, still inside the room, continued his work in silence, unaware of what was unfolding below. Two battles were happening at once, one of the heart and one of the world outside, and time was running thin. The outcome hung in the balance, suspended between hope and heartbreak. Inside the quiet room, Elisha pressed his hands once more over the boy, his face close, his voice barely above a whisper. He prayed again, not with fear, but with a deep trust that the God who gives life could give it again. The air felt still, yet something shifted, like a soft breath stirring the room. Elisha felt warmth spreading, returning slowly to the child's body. Then, with a sudden gasp, the boy drew in a breath. His chest rose, his eyes fluttered open, and he sneezed. Not once, but 7 times, each one breaking through the silence like gentle trumpets of life returning. Elisha stepped back, emotion filling his eyes. He called for the mother. She climbed the steps quickly, her heart racing, unsure of what she would find. When she saw her son sitting upright, alive, her knees softened beneath her, and tears filled her eyes. She didn't shout or cry loudly. Instead, she moved forward slowly, touched her son's face, and held him close, her relief deeper than words. The room that once felt heavy now felt warm again, filled with the quiet miracle of restored life. But outside, the trouble had not disappeared. The men who had arrived in the village were now at the doorway, loud and demanding supplies. Fear spread through the villagers as voices rose. The mother, still holding her son, looked to Elisha. And Elisha walked out to meet the men, not with anger, but with calm authority. He spoke to them gently, telling them that there was no need for fear, no need for force. The men, who had come expecting resistance, were startled by his peace. As they looked upon him, and then saw the child standing beside his mother, they sensed something they could not explain. A presence, a weight. Then something unexpected happened. One of the men, who had been standing behind the others, stepped forward with tears in his eyes. He recognized Elisha. He had once seen him perform another quiet miracle years before and had walked away, unchanged. But now, witnessing life restored, his hardened heart began to break. He set down his weapon and knelt, not to Elisha, but to the God who worked through him. The others followed, slowly, quietly, unsure but moved by what they had seen. The conflict ended not by force, but by a miracle that reached further than one family. Yet, though peace returned to the village that day, Elisha knew this would not be the last time faith would be tested. Miracles do not erase struggle. They guide us through it. When the village quieted again and the voices of the men faded into the distance, the mother stood with her son at her side, her hand gently resting on his shoulder. It felt almost unreal, as if the moment were something delicate she did not want to disturb. Elisha remained close, not speaking much, simply allowing the peace to settle around them. His work here was not done by his own power, and he knew that. It was the gentle work of God, moving in ways that were quiet but strong. The kind of miracles that touched the soul as much as the world around it. The villagers gathered slowly, one by one, drawn by the story of what had taken place. Some came with eyes wide in wonder, others in quiet reflection. They did not ask many questions. They simply watched the child who now stood full of life beside his mother for them. This was more than a miracle. It was a reminder that hope could live again, even after being lost. The mother spoke to a few of them, but her words were soft, thoughtful, as if she was still absorbing everything herself. She did not speak about the pain. She spoke about trust, about holding on to faith when the world grows heavy. And her neighbors listened because they knew her heart was real. Elisha stayed for a short time longer, ensuring the home was at peace. Before he left, he placed his hand gently on the child's head and looked into his eyes with kindness. The boy smiled, a small smile but one filled with light. The mother thanked Elisha, but he shook his head gently, reminding her that every blessing that had come to her life had come from God. Elisha was simply a messenger, walking the path he had been given. As he walked the road away from the village, the sun lowered behind the hills, casting warm golden light across the fields. The air was calm again. The world felt still. And yet, something in the village had changed. Hearts that had once felt heavy now carried a quiet strength. People spoke more gently. They looked up when they prayed. They remembered that even in moments where everything seems lost, the story is not always over. The mother continued to raise her son with love. He grew strong, and the memory of what had happened became part of the village's stories. Not told loudly, not shouted with excitement, but shared softly around tables, under stars, by lamps at night. And so the story of Elisha, the prophet who performed great miracles, lived on, not only through grand displays of power, but through quiet moments of restored hope. Moments that remind us that even when life grows heavy, even when the road feels uncertain, faith can breathe life back into what seems lost. Thank you for watching.